Trump said it clearly. He wanted Greenland, not as a request, as a demand.
We need Greenland for national security. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
He threatened force, pressured Denmark, and shocked the entire NATO alliance. The whole world was watching him.
Denmark's prime minister has been racing across the continent, trying to shore up support from allies.
But while everyone was focused on Trump's next move, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney quietly did something nobody expected, something that may have permanently changed the Arctic forever. Before we get to Carney's move, you need to understand why Greenland matters so much in the first place. Greenland is a massive, semi-autonomous Arctic territory that has been part of the Danish kingdom for over 300 years. It sits right at the top of the world, strategically positioned between North America, Europe, and Russia. That location alone makes it one of the most valuable pieces of land on the planet from a military standpoint. But it's not just about location. Beneath Greenland's ice lies something even more valuable: rare earth minerals, oil, and natural gas worth trillions of dollars. In a world where critical minerals are becoming the new oil, Greenland is essentially sitting on top of a gold mine. 53% of the entire Arctic Ocean coastline is Russian. Russia has 30 of the 66 major military bases across the Arctic. The Arctic is already a great power competition zone. And right in the middle of it sits Greenland. The United States already has one active military base there, Patuxent Space Base, a remote missile defense installation. But for Trump, that was clearly not enough. Trump's obsession with Greenland didn't begin quietly. He made it very public, very fast. He repeatedly threatened to annex Greenland, calling it an absolute national security necessity.
We need Greenland from a national security.
He claimed the United States needed Greenland to prevent China and Russia from taking control of the Arctic. And then, he went further. He refused to rule out using military force to get it.
Trump refused to rule out using military force to take control of the island.
This was not just a controversial statement. This was an American president directly threatening a NATO ally's territory. The shock across Europe was immediate. Denmark was so alarmed that, according to reports, they even developed contingency plans to blow up runways in Greenland just to prevent a potential American invasion. Let that sink in. A NATO member was planning to destroy its own infrastructure to stop another NATO member from invading. At the same time, the Pentagon was quietly negotiating for 3 new military bases in Greenland, using a 1951 defense agreement as its legal cover. General Gregory Guillot, the head of U.S. Northern Command, told lawmakers in Congress that the military wanted access to locations including Narsarsuaq, which offers a deep-water port, and Kangerlussuaq, which already has a runway capable of handling large military aircraft. Both were former American bases from World War II and the Cold War era. When asked if Denmark or Greenland had blocked these plans, General Guillot said simply they had been very, very supportive partners. And scholars explained why. Denmark structurally cannot say no to the United States, because if they do, America could frame their resistance as a security risk and use it as justification to take even more control. Denmark was trapped. Greenland residents were uneasy, and the world was watching. This is where the story changes completely. While Trump was focused on pressuring Denmark, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney boarded a plane to Oslo, Norway, and what he did there over the next 48 hours was nothing short of historic.
We are making heavy investments in the Arctic. We'll be working with our Nordic partners. We'll be working through NATO.
First, Carney sat down with Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre and signed a landmark bilateral defense agreement. The two countries agreed to establish a dedicated Arctic security dialogue, explore military satellite communications, build industrial partnerships around artificial intelligence, critical minerals, and space technology, and deepen cooperation on maritime surveillance across the Arctic. But that was just day one. The following day, Carney did something no Canadian Prime Minister had ever done before. He sat down with all 5 Nordic leaders together: Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Finland, and Sweden, in one dedicated summit format. For the first time ever, Canada and the entire Nordic group were in the same room, at the same table, for the same purpose. What came out of that summit was extraordinary. The 6 countries released a joint statement committing to meet regularly, coordinate on Arctic security, and advance their shared principles as open democracies committed to the rule of law. A Norwegian journalist put it perfectly: these 6 countries are now building their own Arctic alliance. Without Russia, and without America. And if that wasn't clear enough, just days before this summit, Carney had already announced a multi-billion-dollar plan to build brand-new military bases across northern Canada's Arctic region. His message was direct and impossible to misunderstand. He said, "With this plan, we're taking control of our future. We will no longer rely on others to defend our Arctic security." Others. Everyone understood exactly who he meant. So why did Carney do this? And why now? There are three real reasons. Reason 1. Trump broke NATO's trust. Trump's threats against Greenland and Canada were not just aggressive foreign policy. They sent a deeper message to every NATO ally that the United States under Trump might not be a reliable partner. It might actually be a threat. Canada and the Nordic nations were forced to ask themselves, if America is no longer dependable, what do we do? The answer was this alliance, essentially a version of NATO, but without America at the table. Reason 2. The New World Order is here. In his widely cited speech at Davos earlier this year, Carney warned that the world's middle powers are now at serious risk of being swallowed by larger ones. His solution was clear. Middle powers must build coalitions with like-minded countries before it is too late. All 6 nations in this alliance are democracies. All 6 are committed to the rule of law, human rights, and Ukraine's sovereignty. Together, they are considerably harder to pressure than any one of them alone. Reason 3. Arctic resources are the real prize. While Trump framed his Greenland obsession around national security, analysts widely understood that critical minerals were a major underlying factor. Greenland's rare earth deposits are among the most significant in the world. The Arctic is rapidly becoming the next great battleground for resource control. This alliance is specifically designed to ensure smaller nations are not blackmailed or overwhelmed by superpowers using resource access as a weapon. But while world leaders negotiate alliances and military agreements, real people are living inside this geopolitical storm. Greenland's residents have found themselves caught completely in the middle. Protests erupted across the island earlier this year against Trump's threats. Locals are exhausted by the idea of powerful nations deciding their future without their input. One resident, Anso Lauritsen, who runs a sled dog center in western Greenland, said it bluntly: many people don't want more military presence on the island, but ultimately feel powerless to stop it. A retired resident from Nuuk, the capital, said the prospect of an expanded American military presence makes her feel genuinely uneasy. "I'm not happy about it," she said simply. Both Carney and the Nordic leaders publicly acknowledged this. Their joint position was clear. The future of Greenland belongs to Greenland and Denmark alone. Nobody else gets to make that decision. Step back for a moment and look at what has actually happened here. Trump's aggression toward Greenland was designed to expand American power in the Arctic. Instead, it triggered the formation of a brand new transatlantic security alliance among some of America's closest allies, one that deliberately excludes the United States. Canada has joined the EU's Safe Defense Procurement Program, the first non-European country ever to do so. Canada and the EU have signed a new defense and trade deal, and now Canada has formalized its own Arctic alliance with 5 Nordic nations. The Arctic is no longer just a frozen wilderness at the top of the world. It is the next great geopolitical battleground for resources, for military dominance, and for the future shape of the global order. Trump wanted Greenland to make America stronger, but his threats accidentally did something he never intended. They united his own allies against him. So the question now is, can this new Arctic alliance actually hold its ground? And what does Trump do next? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video valuable, make sure you subscribe, because this story is far from over.